Hello and welcome to Foodocracy for Her. It's my chat show where I speak with women in the world of food and beverages who are doing some amazing work. And today we've got someone who's a stalwart based in Mumbai, but I think that now her work is slowly spreading across the country. And it's really fascinating. And welcome, Kainaz Messman.
Thanks,
And
Kalyan.
and it's great to be chatting with you once again. We'd spoken a few years back in a studio format where we were in the same room and recording facility. But this time it's in a different way. It's in through a Zoom live. But that's how life is right now. So,
Absolutely.
yes. And I was listening to her about the sort of measures which they're keeping in Theobroma, which she's the heart and soul behind, in terms of the safety for the staff and for all of us, the consumers. So before we start, I must say that it's really a bit of a coincidence and providential that we're doing this chat just before Christmas, because our initial association with Theobroma, as my wife, who's also named Kainaz, was saying, was the brownies. And I think that that would be probably the thing for many old-time loyalists of Theobroma, because it was known as a place which was doing fascinating brownies, but there were also, of course, sandwiches, cakes, and all that. But I remember going to the Colaba store and all the brownies laid out over there, and so many flavors, so many this thing. Then a few years back, when I was still in a market research agency, and it was probably the last time I was in an agency doing Christmas and Secret Santa and so on. So my Secret Santa had got me a box of Theobroma cookies. So this was maybe, I think, 5 or 6 years back. So I think that's the first time we had the cookies at Theobroma, and they were so gooey, they were so chocolatey, and they were absolutely fascinating. And I remember bringing them home, and then the cookie story got replayed maybe a month back or something like that, or maybe a month and a half back. So we have a young neighbor named Jia Badami. She's just started college, and through the lockdown, she said she's bored, so she bakes. And she's been baking all these lovely goodies and giving to us, including cookies. Unfortunately, the family had gone into quarantine sometime back for a couple of weeks or whatever, and she couldn't bake and send cookies. And then suddenly one day the doorbell rang. So because she couldn't bake and send cookies, she actually ordered cookies from Theobroma. I don't know whether it's for delivery app or whatever, and got them sent to us. And it was such a wonderful, touching gesture, first of all, for such a young girl,
Very sweet.
and such lovely cookies. I remember, like Kainaz and I, we were just. This is my wife, Kainaz, and I'm not talking of her. So just to make it clear, I'm going to when I'm referring to Kainaz, that's how you pronounce your name, right? Yeah, so
Kainaz.
yes, so the for some reason, right from the beginning, I have been calling my wife Kainaz and not Kainaz, which seems to be a slightly more Parsi way of doing it. So I'm going to talk
It is.
yeah, I was a bit. I was telling you when did Theobroma start? Can
In
you,
October of 2004.
2004. So that's 16 years back. And I remember, that year we went in the shop after maybe a lunch at Churchill, and that used to be a routine, like lunch at Churchill, and then go to Theobroma, have brownies, and then head back. So I remember the first time we went there, I even said that, look, my wife's name is Kainaz, can I get a discount? So the staff smiled and very politely said no. So I remember that we all had our individual favorites, rum and raisin, and then there was one which was extremely chocolatey. Was it the Millionaire or was it the Overload?
There was Millionaire. Overload came a few years later.
Yeah, so I think the Millionaire was the one which used to get in, and the chocolate chips and all of that. But that's enough of me and my love for Theobroma desserts, cookies, and brownies. I must say, Kunal Vijaykar has been really praising your sourdough breads to me, and he's been consuming them a lot. There's a Theobroma outlet close to his house in Prabhadevi or Worli, so he's been doing that. I used to buy Theobroma breads from Nature's Basket often at Bandra and get that. So tell me, how did it all start, Kainaz? When did this interest in wanting to sort of bake and cook happen?
So I think baking was part of my life all through my life ever since as far as I could remember, as far back as I could remember, because my mom had a home business, a home fast food business when we were growing up, and we used to help her pack sandwiches and chicken rolls and burgers and things like that before going to school, and then after coming back from school, we would do much the same, help her out in the business. And it was just part of our life. We just kind of took it for granted, never realized that I could actually make a career out of it. um, and then I went to France when I was 16, and that sort of further made me realize how much I wanted to, be in food. Till then, I wanted to be a lawyer, and then, I think being away from home, but being in a country that was so passionate about food, made me realize just how much I was, keen and interested and passionate about food. And then that's how I decided to become a chef. I worked at the Oberoi, and then when I quit because of my bad back, my mom and I sort of decided that we just join hands and start a small cafe, which would be an extension of the home business. And, just have a neighborhood cafe, like a bakery, patisserie. We wanted really to bring out the things that were available in the five-star hotels only up until then onto the high street. And that's how we started Theobroma.
Yes, so what you said is actually true because while I've been talking about brownies, and brownies, but that's not what all Theobroma was about, because I remember that there were the sandwiches and there were the rolls, and then there was one, I don't know if you had rye bread right back then, or there used to be one cake which was like a round thing in the counter, and it was German something or whatever, like, so you could buy it by the slice in the early days. Um,
Uh,
it's
no,
been a long
so
time. Yeah.
so there were a couple of things that we did. We did do a bread that you could buy by the slice in the
Yes,
earlier
yes.
days, and that was our focaccia actually. But we stopped that. It
Yeah,
wasn't
I think there was some.
practical.
I think there was some dessert also, which you could buy cake by the slice. Or
Yes, orange juice cake.
yes, 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 yes. I mean, all of these were such novel concepts, like you said. I mean, they were sort of restricted to 5 stars. And what happens is when things are restricted to 5 stars, is that uh, you know a larger population doesn't really get a taste of it. And I'm
Yes.
so glad that you moved out, because that's when like a domino or a snowball effect happened, because you started sort of offering the sort of patisserie which we wouldn't get outside of a 5 star place, and probably a much bigger range, because this was driven by you and your mom. And then it sort of started off a bit of a revolution movement in the city. So there were so many other corner shops which came up. I mean, some focused just on brownies. There was brownie cottage, there was brownie this, brownie that, and then there were people doing cupcakes and little patisseries. It also gave courage to a lot of people to start off their own bakery outlets. So sometimes I'm pretty sure that you're so busy that sometimes one doesn't even realize this. But what you started way back then in 2004 has opened up the doors for so many people. But I don't know what's this thing about studying law and then wanting to become bakers, because it's not just you. Pooja also wanted
I
to study law. She did a day's class and
I
decided
know
that's not
it's
for her.
just pure coincidence, I think. But having said that, aside from Pooja and me, I've heard of so many bakers
Yes,
that were previously lawyers. And I've
yes.
also asked myself this question: why is it? Why are closet bakers always to be lawyers or have been lawyers or whatever? And I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah, because there are at least two people who are also part of the Foodocracy first series. So there was Pooja of Love
Mhm.
15, and then also Amal Farouk, who started off first with sugar overdose, and now she has sage and oleo and all of that. So she'd also studied law in the beginning. Now, when you were in France, were you studying over there, or you said?
So, so Initially, yes, I had gone there to do my 12th standard as part of the Rotary Youth Exchange program. So I went to school in France and did my 12th standard there. Then I came back and I never actually studied bakery and patisserie in France till after I started Theobroma. So I started Theobroma, and then after working in Theobroma a few years, I just wanted to update my knowledge, go and do a refresher course. And then I went back to France, and actually went to pastry school there, to ENSP. But before that, I had also done trips to France with friends, with people I had, met in the store that became really close to me, and took me to France, just to on a tour of all the bakery and patisserie stores. So my studying of bakery and patisserie in France was not the conventional route, but in hindsight, it's always been the better route, because there was so much more exposure. I felt, I saw all different kinds of bakery patisseries, not only in Paris, but even outside Paris, the small stores, the family run stores, the stores that have been, been run through for generations. And then the brand new, modern, glitzy, glamorous bakery and patisseries that you find all dotted all over Paris or Lyon, any big city in France. And I think just seeing the whole gamut and the kind of patisserie that was available and accessible to people in Europe really taught me a lot. It did. So that was really good for me.
I find it very interesting that you opened Theobroma, you worked for a few years, and the trajectory was already on the way, but yet you took time out to go and educate yourself once again, or maybe sort of get new skills. So do you think that that's important when you're running a business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's very easy to get drawn down by the business and caught up in the business. And whilst I say this, I've also realized that I haven't studied anything in years. I would like to, because it's nice to update your knowledge from time to time, because nothing is stagnant. Yes, your basics remain the same. And that's why it's very important to really master your basics. And once you have that, then it's also important to, go ahead further, update your knowledge, see what is happening in the world at that point of time, go back from time to time, go into history, just kind of go back and forth and see what is happening in each country in the bakery and patisserie scene, so that you have a fair idea. And then, then you get inspired in so many different ways, and then you can bring back to your own country and interpret it the way you seem fit,
Yes. And that shows, because I mean the Theobroma range has also sort of grown over the years, and like you said, some things perhaps didn't work and you must have pulled that down and added new stuff. But how did Oberoi happen then? So did you go to hotel management before that?
Yes, so after I did my hotel management from IHM Mumbai, which was Dadar Catering College. Yes. And then I went straight into the Oberoi Center for Learning and Development and finished my post-graduation with the Oberoi. I was pastry chef at Uday Vilas before I had my back accident and had to quit being a chef.
So that must have been, I mean, that must have been a pretty terrible moment for you, like when you realized.
It was.
I mean, how did you sort of get over it? Like such a setback? I mean, from an emotional point of view?
It was a very big decision for me at that point of time, because I didn't know what else I was going to do. I couldn't really imagine myself doing anything else. And so it was only because of the support of my family that they said, look, don't worry, we'll start something small together. It will not be the Oberoi. It's not going to be as obviously as glamorous and amazing as that, as working at the Oberoi, but you'll have your own little thing, and at least you will still be doing something in food, which was very, very important and core to the person that I am. I could not imagine myself doing anything else. Actually, the Oberoi was really kind enough to offer me an alternative career in food and beverage management, in front office, in whatever other area of hotels that I would choose. But I was not interested in doing anything else besides being in food. And so this really, the support of my family was invaluable at that point of time. And I really remain indebted to all of them for standing by me and allowing me to continue doing something in food. So.
Well, I can completely relate with what you're saying, because when you see your dreams shatter, get shattered, and then to sort of get up. So of course, everyone has their own story, and it's a different story, so it's never comparable. But in my case, like when we first met and when I interviewed you a few years back for the India Food Network, is when I just moved out of market research, which was my career for 15 years, which was when I used to first go to Theobroma. And then I took a break. And then the idea was to get back to research, market research. And I was finding it difficult because I was also in a senior position, and, hires and all that would be tough. So then I thought, let me give food writing a shot. Now, I don't know about you. I mean, okay, maybe your mom had a certain vision of Theobroma. But once I got into food writing, which was 2012-13, and things were very different then than now, I had no idea what to do next. How do you become a food writer? How do you make it your profession? So increasingly, one went into a very dark space where one would wake up and not know what to do with one's day. So again, I must say that it was really the support of Kainaz, my wife, and I have to clarify, through that period. But she would keep telling me that, you want to be a writer, so this is like a great opportunity. What she said, that what if I had taken a break, because she works in advertising, so she said that you would have supported me. So why are you feeling this thing? And then opportunities started coming up, working on the book, then India Food Network, and those chats which we were having at that time. And that's where, so I think having someone who supports one, and like you said, it came to you too from family, is really invaluable. But having said that, I also feel that the final thing has to be done by the individual. Like, all the support and everything could be there. So like in my case, what happened was that that's the time I sort of started practicing Buddhism as a philosophy. And one of the things one was told to was to step back and to figure out what is one's purpose. And then I realized that as a writer, I like writing about people as much as I like about writing about the food. And I said that, okay, through my writing, let me sort of try to connect people, bring out stories of inspiring stories of what people are doing. And that's when I got back to my laptop again. So I want to know, Kainaz, or Kainaz, that what motivated you? What did you decide to? What made you decide to get up and try this? What was your wish or
Because
purpose?
I was just clear that I had to do something in food. I don't think I could have seen myself do anything else. Law was a distant dream. I was qualified as a chef. I wanted to be in the kitchen. I didn't want to be anywhere else. And so for me, there was no alternative. It was in the kitchen or absolutely nothing else. And so this just really it worked out. Of course, in hindsight, it always works out for the best. But at that time, it was fine. I was okay. It took me a while to come out of being a chef, out of the mentality of being a chef in a 5-star hotel and being really in a really small kitchen with that which was my grandmother's old apartment, and that was all we could afford at that point of time. And suddenly work with only local ingredients, and at the Oberoi I was used to working only with imported ingredients. So it was a very, very big transition. It was difficult, but when you're in it, you just put your head down and work. You don't
Yes.
I didn't think so much. You just get on with it, really.
And I can feel goosebumps when I'm hearing you, because and it still is, because the Colaba outlet is still there. It was such a happy place that you would go in and you'd be surrounded by all the sandwiches and the cookies and the brownies and the breads and the sort of thing which one would hardly see that time. And even that, I mean, later when one went to Paris and Nice and Cannes, then that the outlet also did remind one a bit about the Parisian bakeries, the small boulangeries, and so on. And there would always be this happy buzz of, like, there would be local Colaba locals, Bombay locals, there would be foreigners, everyone sitting there. And after a few visits, you would sort of get to know the staff by face. And the fact that you said that cooking or being in the kitchen is what matters to you the most is probably what explains why. I mean, it's not that I've gone there many times, but why I've never seen you in the shop. So I'm guessing when you said that you wanted to always do something around food, it's the being in the kitchen which excites you the most. Is that so?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, my role has at Theobroma now has changed greatly. I no longer do, daily production, but I look at my old recipes from time to time just to make sure that it's being maintained, the quality is being maintained. And of course, the festive menus, the new festive menus are all, kind of curated by me and then worked out by the team. And, so of course, like the business has grown, I think I too have grown. It's a different phase of life. There's a phase that when you are in your 20s, when you're just building your career, you're starting your career, I couldn't think of anything but the kitchen. My heart, soul, everything was in the kitchen. I didn't want to leave. I always wanted to be in the kitchen. I went to the store very reluctantly, but I went there because at that time not many people knew what kind of products we were making, why we were making them, and that was important at that time to explain to our guests what they were, why we were doing something, because there were so many things that were never seen on a high street shop, in a high street shop. And so that I used to go finish my work in the kitchen, and then in the evening, towards the evening, I should head to the store. But it's a far cry from that today. Today, a lot has changed. And though my role in the company is smaller and smaller now, but it's still there. It's very much there, and I'm still connected to the kitchen on a daily basis, several times a day, and I'm still very involved in the food of the company. So that keeps me happy.
In fact, that's a very important point which you've made and raised, because like Theobroma, which if I remember from the menu card in the early days, means the feast of gods, right?
Food of the gods.
Food of the gods, yes. So you've been in that for 16 years, and before that over for maybe a few years or a couple of years or whatever. But that's so true, and especially for people starting off now, as well as maybe people who are in mid-career, is that one changes over time. The way one looks at one's profession changes, the skill set changes. Sometimes one's capabilities changes, the physical part of it as one grows older. But at the same time, the way one thinks, with maturity comes, a certain wisdom, a way of doing it. And I think that it's probably important to do one's best at any given stage than worry too much about what things were in the past, or why am I not spending enough time in the kitchen, and things. But did you ever imagine that, or you and your mom at that point when you opened in your grandmom's outlet apartment? That was beside Aga, right? It wasn't Aga, the one which...
No. It was across the road. It was in one of those by-lanes in Colaba.
No, because I had been to the first time I went to Theobroma was the one which was on the main road.
No, the store.
The
store is that's the store. I was talking about the kitchen. The kitchen was not attached to the store. Our facility was always, in my grandmom's old apartment. Started there, of course, and the store still remains. It's exactly where it was when we started.
So this is really a true foodocracy for her story, because your mom was a inspiration. The grandmom's sort of apartment was where the baking would happen. So and see where it is today. And would you have imagined at that point that this is the trajectory which Theobroma would have taken?
No, no, I wanted just one store. I always wanted just one store. Actually, when my second store opened, I was really upset. I didn't want it to become like this big, chain. But of course, life had other plans for me. And then, one store, second store, and now, it's just
The
gone
latest
crazy.
is in Hyderabad.
Yes.
Whereabouts in Hyderabad is it?
So we opened with Jubilee Hills,
Jubilee Hills.
and now we are opening in a small kiosk in a mall, and then we'll open in Banjara and so on and so forth. I mean, Hyderabad has 4 or 5 stores planned.
Wow.
By March, we should be on at least 5, 6 stores. So.
But I couldn't but smile when you said how upset you were when the second store opened, because there would be so many people out there with, who are struggling and wondering and saying that, okay, how can I start? Okay, now I've started, but I'm just not going. And they would have these dreams of like, million stores, or as a reader, like maybe million readers or whatever. And here you are when you begin to expand. But I get that if someone is really attached to one's baby or creation, which is what, because a chef, and you actually straddle both sides of it. I mean, patisserie as a confectionery as well as savory. But it's a very creative field, and it's hard if one's a creative person to sort of give up certain parts of it or bring people
Very,
into it. So
very true.
how did you deal with that emotionally and then practically? Emotionally, as in you had to let go,
Yeah.
but then the reality was that you were growing, so then you had to then put your emotions aside and work on it from a practical point of
So
view. So how did that happen?
I think Kalyan, it's always been a learning curve, so many years in the business, and I think I'm still learning every day. So I always feel that to survive, you have to be adaptable, and you have to adapt to your surroundings, to what is going on around you. And so, yes, it was incredibly hard, and it was a steep learning curve, and we made many mistakes. Not letting go is, like you said, it's really hard to do that, to give up control, especially when it's something that you've created, like you said, with a lot of love and care and things like that. But you have to do it to move on in life, right? It's like the first time you drop your daughter off to university or whatever. It you have to let go. It's hard, but you have to adapt to what life throws at you, I feel, and then that's just carry on day after day.
Such a great way of looking at it, that one has to adapt, and our current times have shown us how everyone had to adapt. Like sometimes people tell me that, you haven't traveled, don't you miss that? I mean, I just did. I went to Nashik for some work thing, but I just came back as soon as possible and all that. But I must say that we spent about 9 months at home, and there would never be a situation like this in the history of humankind in a very long time, where say a family, in our case husband, wife, and now 2 cats, have been together all the time, like day in and day out, but we've enjoyed that. We've treasured these moments.
Absolutely.
We've learned to enjoy it, and travel will happen when the time comes, I guess.
Yes, and I also think we have to, really put things in perspective. I mean, at least, we've been asked to sit at home. I mean, there have been families that have been torn apart because their husbands, their fathers, whoever had to go to war. So, honestly, we are the lucky ones,
Yes,
really.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we have to be grateful for what we have. We still have a home, we still have our loved ones with us, and ultimately that's what matters, right? Yes, like for example, my sister doesn't live in the country, so I really miss seeing her. I miss being with her. I see her at least a couple of times a year. So we haven't seen each other for a year, but that's okay, because at least I know she's safe. I still can talk to her every day. With technology, I can see her on a screen every day. So I guess you have to find things that matter, and that you can be grateful for. We don't have one whole side of our lives, but at least we still all have jobs. Touch wood, the business is doing pretty okay. That we've got enough, and we can't complain. Honestly, can't complain.
No, that's so true. I mean, there's so much to be grateful for, and when one compares oneself with others.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you that in terms of the growth of Theobroma, so how did that happen? Like you said, I mean, it's not initially planned. So this thing of like moving into more branches and then moving into different cities. So how did that happen? Was there like
So
did you take on
I think it was
partners or
just step by step. Yes, eventually,
because
but
and the reason why I'm asking you this, Kainaz, is that more because people sometimes look for ideas. They want to know that
yeah.
how things happen when they look at successful brands, and
See,
they want to
I've
know that.
noticed that a lot of people, generally, a lot of people that I've spoken to, a lot of people have said that they want to start a brand because they want to expand and, get funded and make whatever, how many ever crore valuation and this and that. But I mean, I didn't think of all this at all. I didn't even know the world of private equity before we started. So I think for us, it was just step by step. As things came our way, we decided what route to take. So, like I said, we first expanded by the family, expanded one store at a time. We started our second store 6 years after we started our first store, though from day one we were getting a lot of franchise requests and this and that, and we didn't want to take the franchise route. We still don't want to take the franchise route. It's not for us. So we decided to do it on our own. And then one store, when we opened the second store, because there was so much of demand for our products, 6 years later we opened our second store. Then I got really upset and I said, I'm not opening any more stores. And then we opened a third store, another year later. And I think before we got our first professional CEO, we had about 5 stores, that we had opened just one after the other. So we opened one store, we earned enough money to open a second store and a third. It just went like that. And once we got our first professional CEO, it was he who started really the wheels in motion for us to get funded. We actually built a lot of systems in place. We put in protocols and controls and systems which we didn't have earlier. We were a traditional mom and pop run store up until then. And then when Cyrus joined us, he set the framework for making this company, big enough to get funded. And then we grew a lot with that. We opened a few more stores. We actually also opened our first remote location in Delhi. And that same year, we got funded. And so that's how it happened for us. And even to go into the world of private equity, it was it was not an easy decision, because there's a lot of things before getting funded. It's easy to get funded if you've got a good brand, but who you get funded with also matters. At least it mattered to us. And so, it took us a while to find us the right partners to expand with, someone that could really support you as well as, have the same vision for the company. And so once we got funded, then we used that money to expand and then, strengthen our controls further, strengthen our processes further. I don't think any business can be built overnight. It does take a while. And I mean, I feel you need to have a strong foundation before you think of having 10 stores or 20 stores or 15 stores. So, I would say spend time on the foundation, because a weak foundation will just collapse.
No, that's fabulous, and what you're saying is actually from experience of having done it. And this is, I mean, there's a lot more, of course, on its way, I'm pretty sure. But it's always great when someone who's done it then says this, because then it comes from solidity, and it's not just theory or case book or case studies and all of that. And you're right that there are often people who start off things, whether it's food business or anything, even like writing or any packaging or anything else which you want to get into. There's a lot of impatience that you want to do things now. But if one looks at any successful brand, and it doesn't get stronger than Theobroma when it comes to food and cafes and bakeries. I think the most critical thing is the strong foundation, and in this case, the foundation which you gave, supported with the family, with mom and everything. But before the baby was ready to sort of get up and go to university, it had been very strongly imbibed the values of the mom and had been groomed in, and that clarity of vision, I guess, is what takes it ahead today. Because I'm sure when one walks into a Theobroma outlet and sees the things, it's still it's the same vision, it's the same person, it's expanded. Perhaps. And it's also, like you said, I mean, patience is very, very important.
Definitely.
And finding the right people to work with is so critical. Like I'll give you an example. I went to Nashik, like I was telling you recently. I was working with this group run by Nidhi Agarwal called Book a Workshop. So a very young set of people. They came up with this during the lockdown, and they were doing workshops online and things. So we worked a few times before, and then we went to record with them. But what I find is that they're one of the most talented people whom I've worked with over the 20, 21 years I've been working. But it makes such a difference. Like my trip was supposed to be a 2-night trip. And I was not very comfortable because the first time leaving home, wife was back here, the loaf and Nimki, my cats. And then what happened was when I landed there, we just worked so efficiently that whatever we were supposed to finish in 2 days, we finished on day one. So it all happened because we knew each other's way of working. There was a fair bit of planning which went in before we went there. When I went there, I was able to hit the ground running, like everything was ready. And one saved a whole day and came back earlier.
Lovely.
So yes. But now I want to know that, the thing is that when it comes to an organization or a brand or a company, it's very important that there is an anchoring vision. So, for example, when it's a large conglomerate like say Unilever or whatever, it's a company philosophy. For an entrepreneur-run thing, it's that of the founder. So, how do you ensure that now that it's growing so much, there's so many people coming, is going to different cities? So far, is Delhi and now Hyderabad, right? Or are there more cities?
Pune as well.
Pune is there as well. Yeah, I think I've seen Theobroma store. Wait, is it in Koregaon Park?
So we've got about 5, 6 in Pune. We've got in Salunke Vihar, Viman Nagar, Balewadi, Koregaon Park, and
yes,
something else.
Yes, I remember seeing it in Salunke Vihar because I'd gone to visit a friend there, and we'd gone to one of the cafes there, and we passed by Theobroma. So how do you ensure that your vision and that of everyone else in the company is aligned? So how do you communicate, or how do you?
We've created a mission and vision statement for Theobroma that I think works as the basic foundation. When anyone comes into the company, of course, it's reiterated and, through trainings. And I think everybody the senior management of the company, I think they walk, talk, breathe the mission and vision, and we are very clear who we are, where we want to go, uh, and I also feel that it's important to know your weaknesses as well, where you could always do better, where you should be doing better, and work on those. So I think there is a constant endeavor to always be better than we were the day before. And so I think that really works for our company. Um, yes, the company has done well, but there are always so many things that we could do better. And I think that's what we continuously work on every day. We talk about it, we discuss it, we debate things, um, and just move on. That's what we do.
How wonderful. In fact, I must tell you that, when I talk to home chefs or when I just think I always urge them to have, I actually say a mission statement, because I say it's very important to know why you're getting into something,
Yes,
to start with, even for yourself, like when you're going
yes.
through challenging times or tough times, or maybe a bad day on Zomato or Swiggy, or or some pesky blogger, then you need to get back to why are you into this. So if you don't mind, would you like sharing a bit, like in your words, I mean, doesn't have to be the company speak, but what is your mission? Because I just want to use this as a bit of a case study for people to understand how to think. I mean,
So I
if you,
think I think what we've always aimed to do is to make simple food, but make it well with good local ingredients, minimal imported ingredients, which are the basic bare minimum, which you just cannot get here. Um, and always do basic things. We are not we don't want to do very fancy things. We just want good food. We want to bring out good food and serve good food. My sisters always said that we are not in the business of food, we are in the business of making people happy. And that I think is something that I really tell myself every day. Regardless of my views on something, regardless of what I think of something, I've at some level learned to put aside my views and do things that make my guests happy. And I think that has also worked for us a lot, because we like to listen to our guests, take feedback, and work on that. Mm-hmm.
business of making people happy. I mean, that's so true. I mean, I can think of at least a couple of moments in recent times when once that has happened. One was in pre-COVID, when one would fly, and especially to Delhi and to Calcutta. So Calcutta, often I would, Delhi, I told you I would pick stuff for my brother, but now of course you have stores there. But Calcutta, there's my friend Kanishk and Manishita, who we are very close to, and his mom is very fond of bakes, and they love Theobroma bakes. So whenever Kanishk and Manishita would come to Mumbai, I remember that he would go to the Theobroma store at Bandra and also to Naturals Ice Cream, and pack stuff and take it home. So I would remember that every time I'd go to Calcutta and to the airport, in Mumbai airport, and the Theobroma store would be there, then I would be, and there were times when I'd sometimes stay with them, but I'd definitely meet them every time. So I'd pick up all the, especially the croissants, and I'd look for all the bakes, especially for auntie, like, croissants and buns and danishes and all of that. And the other one was probably even more this thing, which was during the pandemic, when our friend, young friend Gia, sent the cookies, because first of all, we were very worried for them at that point because they were under quarantine. Two, we were missing seeing them, and not just because of the cookies she would bake, but it was so thoughtful of such a, a young girl, a collegian, to,
Absolutely.
order this from her, this thing, and send it to us. And the fact that the cookies are fabulous. So, you know,
Thank you.
that's so true. And also what you said, I think I need to learn a bit from that, which is at times being able to sort of put your opinions aside when you're. I think that's one of the biggest challenges um, I face working with people. Are you the elder sister or the younger sister?
No, I'm the younger sister.
Okay, so then that's a bit strange because there's this elder sibling syndrome, and I'm the elder one. My brother's younger. Is that you are supposed to be the one in control as the elder sibling, so that affects everything in life. So I always feel I work better when I'm in charge. So it's always a bit of a effort to push yourself to, but when you get together and work, it's always you can first of all create so much more work. I mean it was a wonderful thing which you were doing at Colaba, but imagine, I mean, since then, how many more lives, Theobroma could bring happiness into. So, but talking of happiness, before I close, I want to ask you a bit about the pandemic situation, which threw lives into disarray, and of course, the hospitality business, as so many other businesses. So, how did you go about countering it, taking it on, coming out of it? What was more your mindset? Like, how did you do that?
I think, I think it's very important to build a resilient business, and you can build a resilient business if you're adaptable. And so, as soon as the pandemic hit, I think our current CEO Rishi, he just went into action mode. We first of all we got everyone who was around us. We got everyone to basically understand what we are dealing with in terms of the pandemic, and it was a point where it was changing every day. So we had updates every single day. Every evening we had a crisis committee, and we would talk every single day to try and understand what was going on that day. And the rules changed every day. So we didn't know what it meant for us. So what we did is, at least in the back end, first we isolated an entire team in the kitchen. They were cut off from the rest of the world. They moved into our kitchens. We converted all our offices into, rooms for them to stay. We got access to for them, for their food, sleeping arrangements. Everything was taken care of, and they were at the kitchen and they couldn't leave. So it was like a fortress. And hats off to my staff. I have to say my staff worked incredibly hard to make sure that all protocols were followed. Of course, we put in mandatory hourly washing and sanitization protocols, where a loudspeaker goes off. Even now, a loudspeaker goes off every hour to remind people to stop working, wash, sanitize, and resume work. Then we had to follow social distancing norms. So we had to create the social distancing squares so that people would know where to stand. Initially, people were getting used to wearing the mask at work every time, and that was a big deal for them, because they were just not used to it. Because chefs are very active in the kitchen and they are running around, so it's hot and sweaty and
tasting.
yes, but for tasting there was a whole different set of protocols. Obviously, previously chefs used to have their spoon in their jacket, and then they could taste and put it back, rinse it and put it back. They can't do that anymore. It has to be disposable cutlery and so on and so forth. And so that was at the back end. In the front end we had again different set of protocols we put sanitizing stations wherever. We cut down our staff in the store. At one point of time, the amount of staff that were allowed to be there, they had to we couldn't put loudspeakers in the store, so they had to set alarms in the store, on their watches, on their phones, to wash, sanitize, keep the place clean, and of course we had to follow whatever the government was saying on that day. So it was quite a challenge. We could not open all our stores on, when we started. We started with a very few select stores, and every couple of days, whichever locality we were allowed to operate in, that locality, we would open the store. And then we had to deal with, packaging and, having these sanitizing sachets, and there was a whole bunch of other admin things also that we did. But I think really the staff in this case, my staff, once the policy was laid out to them clearly, they really understood it. They really gave it their all, because it's not easy. It's not easy to isolate yourself, not see your family for months at a time. Just get completely cut off from everybody. To sacrifice all that for the job. And to stand by us, that for me, that was the most heartwarming thing. And then we opened slowly opened one store at a time, and then came back to almost all our stores are now open. So
I feel very, very thankful and grateful to, I mean, folks like you, your staff, everyone who works with you, and people in the hospitality business who worked really hard to keep their things going. Because I must say that being on the other side, I mean, the this thing, I mean, there was really nothing in our lives apart from food.
yeah.
Because okay, I mean, you could watch your social networks or this thing at home, but you can't go anywhere, you can't travel anywhere, you can't catch up with anything, you can't try anything new, you can't shop. uh, so the only thing which was there was food, which is okay for me, because in my world the only thing which matters is food. But I must say one thing on a serious note before leaving, is that things are beginning to open up now, and even we took our first baby steps by going to Candies next door, or the staycation at the Maratha, and this thing, and one walks past restaurants and cafes, and you see what's happening. And I would just like to request, I mean, people on our side, which is the customers, that when we walk in, let's try to be as responsible when it comes to safety norms. I mean, whether
Absolutely.
it's masks, social distancing, clean our hands, because so when people are queuing up in counters, give the space and wear the mask. I mean, okay, if you're sitting and eating, but till then, because the people at the other side, and it struck me when I went to the Maratha and we stayed there for the first time, I mean, after the pandemic, is that, uh, and there's a part which is visible to us, which is, okay, they're wearing masks through the day, and that's so tough. But like you said, I mean, what's happening behind the kitchens also, with people putting their life on standstill, going through so much physical discomfort and all that. I think that I think as consumers, we owe it to everyone in the F&B business, or any customer facing business, whether it's someone has a shoe store or a mall or a theater or whatever, is
Absolutely.
that we should not see it as rules being imposed upon us, but I think with a sense of responsibility. I think that's the least we owe for, imagine being cut off for so many days, isolated, staying there, not being able to go out, wearing a mask and all that. And I know that, I mean, people like you and so many others have taken their responsibilities very, very seriously. I'm not sure if we are doing it that seriously, but having said that, we should. But okay, enough of that. So before we finish, Kainaz, what makes you happy, and what would you like to do more of? Do we some books or some cooking classes, or is it more development in the kitchen? What makes you happy?
I think just cooking, being surrounded by my family and friends. I think that's really all I want. Nothing else really. Honestly, I have no complaints, and uh, we also have to learn to be happy with what we have. Because I feel when we put our lives in perspective, uh, we have so much, and like I said, I just have to be grateful for what we have. That itself will give you happiness. Just pause, think of what you have, so much compared to so many other people, right? So I'm really thankful for that, and I'm happy as is. So thank you.
That's so wonderful, and may you keep smiling. May you keep being surrounded by the family.
Thank
In the background, that's my kitten Dimki, who's fully agreeing, taking part in this. But and may you keep cooking, because I'm so glad it makes you happy, because for all of us and the fans of the cooking and of Theobroma, I think it's great to have the great food coming in. So it's been a tough year, but I'm sure that the time coming up is going to be very different. And wish you all success and best of
Thank you.
luck for Hyderabad. You're taking the name of Mumbai now into so many cities, and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalyan. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.